Right. Uh, Good evening, everybody. Good morning to those who joined from North America. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to our first online Pali reading class 2023. As you could see that today is the first day, and also you know that this class is not fundamentally about grammar, which is of course very normal thing to many, because when you say Paligram. So, but we may have to touch a little bit of Paligram, a little bit, very little bit, to the level of understanding Dhamma text. But our focus is about how to understand. I would say how to pronounce the chanting in a more Dhamma friendly way. At the same time, to understand the Dhamma, in particular, the context, neighboring context. Otherwise, translations can give us a very, wrong understanding. These are the two things that we primarily focus on. So we have registrations for around 56 individuals, mainly from Malaysia and India. And we also have participants from Sri Lanka, United Kingdom, France, and Canada. I hope that everybody might be joined. Normally, I welcome everybody by name because of the number of many people. I wouldn't go to do that because we want to save the time. And we can see your names and the places too. All right, so let's get started. First, we're going to pay respect to the Buddha, and we'll get started. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Right. So the first thing that I want to ask you, did you all check the materials that I uploaded into the Google Classroom? Let's take a look.
Yes, Bhante.
So there are a couple of documents. Save into that. All right. So Google Classroom. So the documents were uploaded little below. These are when people comment, so the platform goes up. Don't worry about it. This is our Buddhist nun. She's with us. Buddhist nun from France. Now she's living in Vietnam for some time. And yeah, so these are the 4 documents I uploaded. So this document, I would say this is a link. This is what we will be studying week by week. And this is a link where you can search canon, at the same time more particularities of the words, each word, right? Digital Pali reader. Maybe you take it as an extra thing. Do not go to this one at the moment. And we need to start from what is Pali language, and then let's go to Pali Alphabet, and then go to Buddha part. So what I'm going to do is that I'm not going to read everything. I just read only, highlights, the main points, and then go to Pali Alphabet because we have the document, and then we go to our topic today. Our topic is to read one section of the canon. Actually, I did not incorporate, copy paste any text because I want you to go to the original canon with me. and see that, oh, this is exactly how it is given in the camp. That's why I'm going to start from Buddhika Pada. So if you click on that here, you can see. Yes, so we will be starting from the first one. So these are the translation, don't worry about it. This is the Pali text, edition of the root text, Mahasangita. Yeah, this is what we're going to be doing after we understood the Pali language and alphabet and all that. I just wanted to show you a little bit of the text that we're going to be studying after that introduction. Oh, well, it's coming up. Yeah, so this is pretty easy. So homage to the Buddha 3 times and the 3 refuges. Maybe if we got time, we're gonna go to the 5 precepts too. Okay, so we'll go to each word and see how it looks like. Okay, let's go to what is Pali language. This is interesting. All right, so Pali language. What do you think about Pali language? Now, of course, we know that this could have been the language that was supposed to have, spoken by the Buddha, but there are some issues with that. You can see Pali as a language developed in northern India before 200 BCE, perhaps as early as the 5th century BCE, but died down as a literal language in mainland India around the 14th century. But there are a lot of literature stuff. Let me stop the document for a while. Now, Pali language has some special thing. Does Pali language have a particular alphabet? Yes, Pali has an alphabet. This is what we're going to be studying after. It has letters, vowels, and consonants. But does Pali have a certain way of writing? One unique way? Like if you look at Thai language, Thai has their own orthography, I would say, their writing style, and Burmese, Sri Lankan, right? Does Pali have a certain way of writing, or there's no one script for that? Or is it a phonetic language, just based on the phonetics? It is phonetic language. There's no particular writing style. Sri Lankan people, they pronounce from their version, from their text. Thai people, they pronounce from their text. Burmese people, they pronounce from their, even English people, they pronounce from the Romanized text, like how we look at all this, Buddham, B-U-double. So that means Pali language doesn't have a particular writing style. It is just the pronunciation. Isn't it interesting? That is interesting, right? That is why if you closely watch different monks chant from different countries, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma, you see some different articulations, pronunciations, right? So even some Western people try to say Buddha, Buddha, it is their version. You say Buddha, say Buddha, right? So they have their own ways of pronouncing. You don't say it's bad, it's wrong. But I think people have a general consensus to follow the Sri Lankan tradition, mainly because the text has been, teaching has been written down on books, on manuscripts in Sri Lanka. It's a bit of something that they think. So although Pali language has no particular writing style, different people, they write in different letters, but there's only one consensus, that is to pronounce in a similar. Okay? in a way that is same across the Theravada countries. All right. So you have to keep that in mind in the first place. If you haven't understood that Pali language has no particular writing style, now you understand that it has no particular writing style. It is written in different letters, but the phonetics, the way how you pronounce should be the same. What is Pali? Who speaks it? Now you could say it's an Indo-Aryan language. All right, so when people write, they say P-A-L-I or P-A with this retroflex letter. Both are okay, but for the search engine optimization, people might write just Pali, right? If you write with these marks, dots, it is good for academic things, but just for the search engine optimization, just write P-A-L-I. All right, now this is a Pali sentence that is mentioned in one of the very earliest chronicles in Sri Lanka. It says, "What was brought to Sri Lanka from India?" If you believe that Sri Lankan Pali canon is the most authentic or something, then we have to understand what was brought from India. Pali Matta Idhani. Only the Pali was brought here, not the Atta Katha either. There is no commentary here. What does that mean? Pali was brought here. Can you bring a language to Sri Lanka? No, it means, here Pali means Tipitaka. This means Tipitaka. Only the Pali canon was brought to Sri Lanka. No Atta Katha commentaries were brought here from whoever the monks or whoever. Right. So that means Pali was used not to a language, but to a certain set of books. That means Tipitaka. Sutta Vinaya Abhidhamma, right? That was what we see there. And there is a long discussion between the Tamil language and Pali or Sanskrit, that they say that Pali, whoever the people who work on Pali, they learned the word called Pali from the Tamil language, but it is not yet confirmed. But they say maybe the word Pali may have been taken from the Dravidian word, but we have to understand there's a word called Pali in the Dravidian language, but there's no agreement to that yet. All right, that's pretty much it. Now there is another important thing. Was there a language called Pali at the time of the Buddha? I ask you a question. A simple question. Was there a language called Pali at the time of the Buddha? Did Buddha say that my teaching is in Pali?
No.
No. Now this is very interesting. So Buddha did not use a language called Pali, because at that time, whatever his language was called, Magadhi. Maybe I can type it here, right? Everybody. Magadhi. What is Magadhi? Magadhi means the local language of the state of Magadha. State of Magadha. What is Magadha? Magadha was a state. Right? It was a state at that time of India. Right? But was the Buddha born in Magadha or somewhere else? Where was he born? Of course, you might say, yeah, he was Nepal. Nepal. How do we call that part of the India at that time? That particular state?
Kapilavastu.
Is it a state? Kapilavastu is a city, right? Not a state. What was the state? Now here we call
Lumbini.
Lumbini.
Lumbini is a location, not the state. Interesting.
Sakyan.
Sakyan is a tribe. Kakolia, they are tribes at that time of India. Okay, let me tell
Kala.
you. Kosala.
Kusala.
Kosala. This was the
Kosala.
state. Okay. Now, somebody might ask then, what about the language of the state of Kosala, which was used by Sakyans who live in the city of Kapilavatthu, main city? We don't have any information about it. But because Buddha spent a long amount of time in the state of Magadha, we call that he may have used a language called Magadhi language. Now, Magadhi was an early form of Prakrit. Those Indian participants might know Prakrit, one of the Prakrits in India at that time. And it is said that the Jain teacher, Nigantanatha Buddha, followed half Magadhi, Ardha Magadhi. So Buddha used Shuddha Magadhi. Buddha's language is, they say, Yo Magadhi. These are just introductory things, huh? Don't worry, huh? This is not our main class, but just to give you an understanding about the Pali. Otherwise, you might not know what it is. Normally, before reading a language, we had to give some background info. Buddha language was pure Magadhi. Sorry, not Buddha Magadhi. Let's call it Shuddha Magadhi. Okay, Shuddha Magadhi. And Mahavira's Mahavira language, according to them, was, say, Ardha Magadhi. So we don't have a very yes, Preeti. Thank you. So Shuddha Magadhi and Ardha Magadhi. So on the other hand, there is a sutta in the Sutta Pitaka called Arana Vibhanga Sutta. Check them later, okay? Not now. Arana Vibhanga Sutta. I probably think this is going to be. Yes, Majjhima Nikaya 139. Majjhima Nikaya 139 Sutta. In this sutta, Buddha says something very interesting. He says, when he goes to a different state in India, he uses the vernacular of that state. Let's say he goes to the Malla state of Malla. What is Malla state famous for? What is it famous for? Malla, M-A-L-L-A. Malla state. What is this state famous for?
I think the passing Parinibbana.
Parinibbana happened. Buddha passed away in the state of Malla, Kusinara. Interesting, huh? So these are very connected to us. So when he goes to Malla, state of Malla, he is more into the vernacular, the local language of Malla. When he goes to, I would say, Avanti, state of Avanti, he uses that language. Now he says Patta. In Shuddha Magadhi, we say in the state of Magadha, Patta means alms bowl. What do we monks do with alms bowl, folks? Alms bowl? They go for Pindapata, right? Pindapata. Not even for a Pindapata, an alms bowl was being used. Monks also used to carry water, draw water. It is their only tool at that time, right? So we say Patta for alms bowl. This is the Magadhi style, okay? Let me write that for you. We say Patta for alms bowl. This is Magadhi, okay? The Buddha also says in other states, there are other words for alms bowl. Sarava. This is another word in another state. Tisarana. So in that way, Buddha used to, practice different vernaculars when he goes to other even local places in India. So that means whenever somebody, even a monk, goes to a different country, they have to understand the local context. Otherwise, they won't be able to. So, anyways, his main use of the language was Magadhi. Now, let me ask: did the Buddha use the language called Pali or the Magadhi? Which language did the Buddha use?
Magadhi.
Magadhi. But now, by now, we don't say it is Magadhi. Why is it? The general use for this language has been called as Pali. But Pali was the name given to the whole canon, right? So the whole canon. So anyways, so you have to know the difference, what might have happened with these words. But you could say Magadhi was the name that was used by the Buddha at that time, but we call it Pali in today's time. Because if I say that, oh, Bhante Chandima is going to teach Magadhi language, please join, register. What is that? People might not know what is that. So Pali, we have to go by the norm of the people. But in that, I'm going to tell you, there was no language called Pali at that time. It was a different term that was used for Magadhi. All right. Now you know the difference between Magadhi and Pali and what must have happened. Then let's get into the rest. All right, so that's pretty much everything for that. Because I don't want to, spend too much time for this. And then let's go to alphabet. This is the interesting part.
Sorry, Bhante, to interrupt. Sumoy here. I just want to know, it seems another Pali words. That mean, what I mean, because Bhante say Magadhi is the spoken language by the Buddha. Then because of the Pali, Pali canon, so it was called Pali. So that means the words Pali, is it adapted from the Sanskrit itself also?
No.
Advice? Thank you.
No. If you have more questions, please ask during the Q&A, but I will answer this question. No, Magadhi comes from the word called Magadha. Magadha was a state, as I told. Magadha is a northern state in India. So the language that was used by the people in the Magadha was called Magadhi. So you just like make a lengthen Magadhi. There's no involvement with Sanskrit for that. Because Buddha didn't like to translate even canon to Sanskrit. Because Sanskrit is more melodious, more secular, Buddha said, to two monks. So it's not Sanskrit. So it's Magadhi means just a local language in that particular state. But the problem is not with the Buddha. The problem is with the development, evolution of the language. And then how the scholars and other monks, senior monks, looked at it. Now it has been named as Pali, right? So this happens, right? It could be something like country like Thailand it was called as Siam in the past, but not many people understand Thailand as Siam, but maybe people know it, right? Even Ceylon is for Sri Lanka, but now says Sri Lanka. Probably that kind of a difference. I don't think any other like a big difference with that. Make sense?
Okay, thank you.
All right. So let's get into Pali alphabet. Okay. Now I told you at the beginning, Pali is written in many different steps, right? So Pali has no particular writing style. That is why you see Roman, which is normally by the English people, as you even pronounce this way. Devanagari, even Sanskrit, you can write, say, Thai, Sinhalese, Burmese, see? So it is very clear that Pali is written in many descriptive, scripts. There's no one particular language for Pali, right? As the Buddhist canon, Tipitaka, travel, local people use either Indian scripts or switch to their own local script. That's an interesting thing. Let's say when it was traveled to different parts of the world, especially at the time of the Ashokas, King Ashokas, Dharma Ashokas, sending of missionaries to different countries, probably the canon, the Tipitaka, took the pronunciation, the script of that particular country. But for now, we are just interested in the Romanized Pali alphabet because this is the easiest for us. See? NAMOTASS. This is what we learned. That is very common to all of us. It has vowels and consonants. So Pali alphabet has 41 letters. All right, 41 letters, 6 vowels, 32 consonants. Is that all? What has happened over there? 38 then. What has happened to them? Thirty-two and 8 makes only? Sorry, give me a second. It has to be, it has to be 8, all right? So please, there was a mistake over here. 8 vowels and then 30, actually it should be 33 consonants, 32 and 31, because with the Nikahita over here. So these vowels are interesting because we normally say a short vowel and a long vowel. A, I, U, A, O. How do we pronounce them? A, I, U, A, O. We may not be able to pronounce properly unless we use some words. Consonants, there are 5 sets: K set, K set, C set, T to T sets, P set. So ka, k, ga, g, n, cha, ch, ja, j, ta, t, da, d, n, ta, t, da, d, n, pa, p, ba, b, m. Why there is a H? That is the aspirate. So you have to pronounce with a puff of breath. Huh? H sound. Not k, ka, k, ka, k, ga, g, n, cha, ch, ja, j, ta, t, da, d, n, ta, t, da, d, n, pa, p, ba, b, m. And then Yara lover. These are some consonants at the end of the alphabet, and then S is the sibilant, and then H is also kind of a sibilant here, right? And then in addition to these, what do you call 41 letters, because there is a mistake over here, I'm going to upload this document again, so don't worry about that. But for now, just think about there are 41 letters. There is an additional letter called M. Now, this is, as you can see with this word, sansara, right? You can simply write M, but we have to write it properly, a dot under M. Sansara. Sansara. Like Buddhang, Saranang, right? Same. Let's give it a read a little bit. In each group, every second and fourth consonants are aspirate. Second and fourth. Second, this line and this line, they are aspirate. Why is it called aspirate? You have to pronounced with an emphasis, not like k. How do we pronounce them? K, ch, h, h, h. Here, g, j, d, 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 b. Right? So these letters have to be pronounced with an emphasis, with a puff of breath. See, there is an H which symbolizes the stress. When you see H anywhere in your Pali reading, you have to pronounce with a stress, right? Emphasis, not the stress that we don't like, huh? The stress in the language, right? Anything unclear over here before I jump into the next one? Don't worry about the numbers. I'm going to edit this document again for the numbers, but 41 letters, right? Okay, so it has to be pronounced with the stress and a puff of air being released. The first and the third are unaspirated. Now, if the second and the fourth groups, not this one, only these 5 groups, second and fourth, going to be aspirated, then what will happen to the first and the third groups until here? Is 5 groups. They are unaspirated. Don't say k for k. K means k. Ch, k, p, g, j, d, d. See, d, not da, da, d, and b. Once again, let's see. K, g, ch, j, t, d, t, d, p, b. But these ones, k, g, ch, j, t, d, t, d, p, b are aspirated. What are these letters at the end here? These are nasals. Nasal. You have to say with the nasal. N, akagaganya, chacha jaja, n, tata dadana, tata dadana, papa baba. Right? So nasals mean that you have to pronounce with the nasalization, you know. Actually, what you see here is that there are 2 N's that we use in Pali if you use with the marks. Okay. The 5th ones in each group are nasals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 nasals. Right? Pali is a phonetic language, so each entry above represents a single sound. That means in Pali, each letter has its own unique pronunciation. There's no 2 pronunciations, 2 sounds, so 3 more sounds. Only 1 sound is reflected in each Pali letter. Every letter always has the same pronunciation regardless of its font. That means if you see g, is g everywhere. You see t is everywhere. If you see m is everywhere. You see m, it is m. It is not b. Right? Right? That means you can't find silent sounds in Pali, right? In English, we have silent sounds because of the French, whatever Latin influences we have. You see the letter, but it is pronounced different. But Pali, no, that sound has to be everywhere. M means m, H means her, right? That has to be everywhere. It's pretty easy. So no letter has more than 1 pronunciation, and no sounds are represented by more than 1 letter. As there are more sounds in Pali than letters in the Roman alphabet, to make distinctions, special symbols such as diacritical marks are these, and these different marks have to be used, like these ones. If you can see marks like long A, long E, right? So those marks are used to specifically understand different Pali letters, because every Pali letter carries its own unique pronunciation. Now, see, it is the same thing. Huh? These are the 5 groups. Huh? K group, C group, T group, again the second T group, and P group. These are the nasals. These are the semi-vowels. All right. Yara, leva. This is the H sound. What do you call the spiran and one sibilant S. These are the vowels. Why Pali language has a different way of Pali language talks about the place of pronunciation, gutturals, palatals, linguals, dentals, labia. For example, dentals mean from the teeth. You have to pronounce with teeth, right? Labials through your lips, palatal from the palate, right? So in this way, these are very interesting. So if you want to get used to these different letters in a very serious way, you have to particularly look at whether you use them from the correct place, right? When you say per, it has to come from your lips. So all these letters, the P set, has to come from your lips. Has to come with your lips. Dentals, to your teeth. Right? In that way, all these letters have to come from different particular places. All right. And what else? Okay, and this one, linguals, they have to come from your tongue. See, ta, ta, da, da, da. They have to come with your tongue. Tongue has to be used. And palatals, your palate. Cha, cha, ja, ja, na. That means they have to come from your palate. What about the gutturals? It has to come from where it should come from. What do we mean by gutturals? Kantaja. That means
Throat.
Throat area. We could say it has a primary place of articulation near the back of the oral cavity, right? That whole place. Ka, ka, ga, ga, yeah. Ka, ka, ga, ga. You know that this area is actually pretty much used. All right, so that is pretty much about the pronunciation places. Now you know pronunciation over here. And then this is pretty much about the pronunciation. You can see the document. I'm going to edit a little bit too. Time. Any questions about the Pali alphabet? If not, we're going to go to the topic today. All right. Okay, this is going to be our lesson today, the first lesson. So we chose Kuddaka Pata. What is Kuddaka Pata? Kuddaka Pata is a book that comes under the Sutta Pitaka. And then minor text means the fifth book, and then the first, I would say the 5th section and the first book. So first section of the 5th book actually, right? Saranattaya. Saranattaya means, what is Saranattaya? We call it Saranagamana in our plain language, right? What is Taya? Anybody wants to guess what is Taya? T-A-Y-A. What is Taya in Pali? Taya.
Right. 3.
Tree. Taya means tree. So Sarana, tree. That means there are how many Saranas?
Three Saran.
Three sarans. Right? Pretty easy to understand. Saranataya. So that number has gone to the end, right? We don't say that in English, right? We say number, before the particular object, right? But here, number can also go to the end of the Pali word. So Saranataya, three saran. Now, what are the basic translations for Saranataya? What are the basic translations? Some people translate this to be three refuge, right? Three refuge. And some others translate this to be triple gems. Triple gems. What could be better? What could be a better translation? Do we find a gem over here? Does Sarana means gem? What does Sarana mean?
Refuse, Bhante.
Sorry.
Sarana can be refuge or protection or guidance. Saranam.
Yes, we get the protection because if we have somebody to protect us, but what does Sarana mean?
So taking refuge. Is it?
Okay,
Not sure.
let's go back here. What is Saran? Now the meaning of Saran is, I would say, you go to somebody to get the support. So, but the issue here is that refuge has a different meaning, especially in the Western context. Refugees, but we have to understand that from a different context. Yeah, shelter, you could say shelter, but shelter can also come from different contexts too, right? That is why we have to understand the context. But why can somebody say Sarana to be the gem? Where do they do that? How do they use the translation of gem to Sarana? What is the basis of that? You know that reason. The reason is they follow something from the very famous Pali Sutta called Ratana Sutta. What does Ratana Sutta talk about? I'm asking questions time. Ratana Sutta talks about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Now, because the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha were used by the Ratana Sutta, some people think they can use the Pali word called Ratana to the Saran. Ratana means gem. That is why some people translate Sarana to be gem, right? This is what they say. Sarana, gem, due to the use of Ratana Sutta. All right. So, but here what we understand is that we just take the normal idea here, refuge. I go to the Buddha for refuge. Can somebody ask a Dhamma question over here? Why we have to always follow somebody, especially in Buddhism? Aren't we the people who can initiate our personal liberation journey? Why do we want to follow the Buddha? Actually, that is not a question. Why do we have to go for a refuge in order to follow the Buddhism, the path? There's a reason. The reason is that we should have a trust about his teachings. Without the trust, we won't be able to follow. That is an interesting part. Although most of our path, the things in the path have to be done by us. Saranatve means three refuge. Then let's come to Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma. What do we call this? Call this as Namaskar. Okay. Or we would say homage. Can we all recite this by putting our palms together? Namo tassa bhagavato. Don't go to the chanting styles. Just pronounce. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Anybody notice anything that we learned before? What is over here? This letter.
H.
This is
Aspirate.
Aspirant.
aspiration, not aspiration. This is where we see the aspirant. Aspirant. That means you cannot simply say Bhagavato. Namo tassa bhagavato. No, Namo tassa bhagavato. Make sense? Bhagavato. If somebody says Namo tassa bhagavato. Namo tassa bhagavato. Again here, Samma Sambuddha. Again H. Can we say Samma Sambuddhas? Samma Sambuddhas. Why is it? There is an aspirant. All right. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. This is the correct pronunciation. All right. You have to master, huh? You have to master this pronunciation. Otherwise, you won't be able to get there. Translation: Namo. Namo means homage, or respect or salute. Tassa to. Samma Sambuddhassa, to the fully enlightened one, fully awakened. Samma means, what is Samma? Samma means right or wrong?
Perfectly, fully.
Okay. In the Pali sense, it could be fully. Fully, Sambuddhassa.
Self-enlightened one.
Self-awakened one.
Self-awakened one.
Okay, Sang means,
Self.
as somebody said over here, perfectly. And Buddha means a generic term for all the Arahants, right? In Theravada Buddhism, we call Buddha to Arahants, Vajjaka Buddhas, and Samma Sambuddhas. But when we say Samma Sambuddha means, that means it's only for a fully awakened, fully enlightened Buddha. And the meanings, let's go to the meaning. Bhagavato. What does Bhagavato mean? Yeah.
Blessed one.
Bhagavato.
Blessed.
Yeah, that is how we translate. Now we have to go to the meaning inside. What is Bhagavato?
To the blessed one.
Yeah, that's the what you call the literal translation. Now we have to understand what does Bhagavato mean in the context.
Oh,
right?
Bhagavan.
Now you can say I'm a very,
become.
yeah, what is Bhagavato? Bhagavato simply means, I want to save the time, means someone or the person who has completely eradicated raga, dosa, and moha. That is why he is blessed. He's not simply blessed. Now you might say that I'm blessed because you have a good family, you have a good person, your life is so good. That is not the nature of that simple blessed nature. He is blessed because he has completely eradicated raga, dosa, and moha. That means, can they come again?
No.
They won't come again. It's like uprooted a tree, uprooted, not just cut it halfway. Next time when someone asks, why is the Buddha called Bhagavat? Why he's blessed? Huh? Yeah, of course, he's a blessed person. He's blessing us too, right? Why is he blessed? Bhagavato means Actually, here, bhaga means complete eradication. Then, after that, what is the term that we are finding here? Arahatu. Arahatu.
Arahant
What is arahatu?
is an arahant.
Yeah.
Completely eradicate greed, hatred, and delusion.
Blessed.
That is Bhagavat.
Bhagavan.
Blessed.
Arahatu.
Arahato, blessed. The
Arahant
blessed.
is
Blessed.
an arahant.
Again, you use a blessed for arahatu? No, it's not going to work.
Ara-
Arahatu has a different meaning.
Arahatu, I think, even though in silence, he doesn't do any evils in the thought situation.
That's one explanation.
The other-
Actually, if you
Ara-
look at the virtues of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, you have three particular stanzas. Itipiso, Bhagava, Arahang, Samma, Sambuddhu, Vichacharana, Sampanna. In that particular statement, you see the first quality of the Buddha is Arahatu, Arahang. Itipiso, Bhagava, Arahang. Now, Arahang means, there are a couple meanings. The first meaning is that the Buddha has cut off the samsara with everything, and at the same time, he does not make bad karma, even secret, right? Arahant. That is why we call Arahant. But normally people translate this to be what you call in different easy words. But Arahatu means that the Buddha cut off the, I would say, diameter of the samsara. That's if the samsara is a wheel, he cut off the diameter of the samsara, so then the samsara cannot continue. At the same time, he never makes bad karma, even secret. Are there people who make bad karma secretly? We don't notice that in their mind. There could be, right? Because karma is always a mental thing, right? All right. So Arahatu means that he does not make bad karma even secretly, and he he cut off the diameter of the samsara. And Samma Sambuddhas. This is also another virtue under the Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddha. So that means he became the full Buddha without the support of other people. So we call it self-awakening. Samma Sambuddha means, maybe I type that for you. Samma Sambuddha means self-awakening. Did other people support ascetic Siddhartha to become the Buddha? I ask you a question.
No.
No? Are you sure?
Sure.
How about he met other people? There were things happened, right? Before he became the Buddha. Yeah. Any other answers? Did ascetic Siddhartha find no support from other contemporary, maybe friends, other colleagues, or whoever practice in the forest? I want you to think about it.
The five ascetic.
Five ascetics. Did they support him?
Yes.
They said what they knew. Whether it was leading to the Nibbana or full Samma Sambuddhata, but they shared what they know, right? But did it help him to attain the Buddhahood, Samma
No.
Sambuddhahood?
No.
It did not.
No.
He ended up with some frustration, right?
Yes.
That means for 6 years, it is said that he practiced that. Even the Jain, the Mahavira also practiced some time. These enterprising ascetic practices. That is their way. Who else? Did he find out anybody else as friends who supported him?
The
Two
two teachers.
How many teachers that we know that he
Two.
confirmed? Two more teachers. What are the names of them?
Alarakam.
Alarakala.
Kala.
Pronounce it. Alarakhalama.
Alare Kalama.
Oh, great. This is again Pali pronunciation. Then the other one,
Uttaka Ramaputta.
Uddaka Ramaputta. Uddaka Ramaputta. Was there any other teacher before them? Yeah, there was another individual who supported him. Not supported, he learned something. We call Bhargava. These are additional information for your knowledge. Bhargava. Bhargava, Alarakhalama, and Uddaka Ramaputta. And 5 monks. All right. Now, we don't know exactly what happened with Bhargava, but there was a mention that he consulted Bhargava. But Alarakhalama, Uddaka Ramaputta helped him to practice what kind of meditation? What did those two teachers help him to practice? Samatha Bhavana. All right. So these two teachers, Alarakhalama and Uddaka Ramaputta, helped him to practice Samatha Bhavana. But he went further than the 4 jhanas. He went to the 7th jhana with the support of Alarakhalama's teaching. And then he went to the 8th jhana with the support of Uddaka Ramaputta. But then he found out the bliss, the happiness that you gain through the Samatha Bhavana is just a temporary happiness. You can expire anytime from that. So he wanted to focus on the Vipassana side. Then he understood this is not the way. And then he met 5 ascetics. It is also not going to work for him. He understood after many years. Then he found out his own search, his own, what do you call the path? What do we call it? Majjhima Patipada.
Patipada. The Noble Eightfold Path.
Yeah, Noble Eightfold Path, which has no bearing, which has no, no emphasis on the suffering, self-suffering, pain, and also bearing on the lot of sensual indulgence. So now, in order for us to understand the word Samma Sambuddha, we have to understand that Samma Sambuddha means, when you say perfectly became the Buddha, it also has the meaning self-enlightened. Self-enlightened without the support of anyone. All right. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Do not struggle in pronouncing, but just take it easy. Namo. Let's go back to our script over here. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. That's it. You have to make an emphasis at each H. That's it. It's not simple Bhagavato. Bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. All right. Let's get into now these 3 sections. Now you can see Buddhang Saranam. These are very famous Pali phrases, but when you look at it, you might perhaps see Gacchami. Gacchami, in Pali, when you say Gacchami, it has to be I, but where is that Ahang part here? Ahang Buddhang Saranam Gaccha. We don't say Ahang. It's I. I go to the Buddha. I go to the Dhamma. I go to the Sun. But you have to take it in addition. Buddhang Saranam Gaccha. Again, here you can see H sound here, and Dhamma H sound here. Sangha again here, H sound. So you have to always make an emphasis. Use that aspirate. Buddhang, here there's no aspirate. saranang gaccha. H, not gaccha. Gaccha. Dhammang saranang gaccha. Sanghang saranang gaccha. Now, let me ask you a question. Somebody might argue, what is the purpose of the Pali language? If we know the Dhamma, that's enough. Is it a very good statement? Some people make this statement in today's world. If you know the Dhamma from a Dhamma talk, that's enough. Does language have nothing to do with us in our path? Nobody can say that language doesn't make any impact in their Dhamma path, because whoever the person teach you Dhamma, they have to learn Dhamma from these texts. That means they have not properly understood the text and then say whatever the things that they can look at the Dhamma. That's more dangerous. So, and someone also might think that I can just say Buddha Saranang Gacchami, what's the problem? When you say like that, you are not properly pronouncing the word. That means if the words carry any, what you call, weight in the language, and also blessing. Now for the monks, they must be able to pronounce every word properly. You might argue again, they have a lot of compassion, kindness. But with that kindness, those words also have to be properly pronounced. Why do I say so? If you want to become a monk, what is the process? You're going to the temple. Hello, Bhante, I want to become a monk. Can I? Oh, I have to observe you for something. Maybe you can join a retreat. And then in the ordination process, senior monks give 2 types of saranagamana to the person who wants to become ordained. Why is it? Why is it? Senior monks want to know whether he can pronounce Pali well. If he cannot be ordained. Especially they check your nasals. So they say, Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. So some people, they cannot. So they are not able to be ordained. They have to learn. That means language is a problem. But don't take it in a way I have to know like a scholar, academic person. No, you don't need to do so. Now the problem is that when a lot of Pali classes are going to be conducted, they conduct in a very academic. It's good for academic people, but for you, there is a different level. That is what I'm trying to teach you. Not all those high level of grammar. So here, when you pronounce, you have to pronounce properly. Even when monks ask you, now we're going to give you the precepts. Before that, you need to take the Tisarana. When the monks pronounce Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, then you have to pronounce the same way. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Then Dhammang, not Dhamma. Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Here, not Sangha. Sanghang. Sanghang. See, there's H. Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. But make sure that you don't make any crazy sounds in an audience. But you understand that there is an aspirant. The word Buddha, I told you Buddha is a common word to all the Arahants, but here we call it for the Buddha, a fully enlightened Buddha. Gacchami means that I follow, seek and all that. Go. Dhamma. Dhamma means Buddha's teachings. Buddha's teachings. Now, when you say Buddha's teachings, It has Dhamma and Vinaya. Then where do we know the Pali Tipitaka? Did Buddha use the word Tipitaka for his teachings? Do we find the word Tipitaka in the canon? Early canon? No. Buddha said, my Dhamma and Vinaya will be your teacher when I pass away. Then who added Tipitaka? This is a collection effort, naming of the senior monks when they preserve the canon. But don't worry, it is not un-Buddhist. It is not, we can't say it is wrong. It is a collection effort. So when we say Dhamma, we have to take Dhamma and Abhidhamma also. All right. Then we seek the support of Dhamma definitely. And then Sangha. Can we learn Dhamma without the Sangha? Interesting, huh? Sangha means monastic members. Is it true? Does Sangha mean monastic members? Who are the Sangha? Sangha.
Community of lay people also. It's a community.
Not community, not that way. If you look at the Supatipanno state, Supatipanno Bhagavatu Savaka Sangha, Vijupatipanno Bhagavatu Savaka Sangha, Nyaya Patipanno Bhagavatu Savaka Sangha, Samiti Patipanno Bhagavatu Savaka Sangha, Yadidan Chattari Purisapu Atta Purisapukala. There are 2 sets and then 4 people. There are 8 people who
individuals.
fall into Sangha. Who are they?
Sotapanna.
The person who is going on the path of the Sotapanna. Number 1. Number 2, the
Anaga.
person who already a Sotapanna.
Sakatagama.
Third one, the person who is on the path of becoming a Sakadaga. That means already a Sotapanna. The person who is already a Sakadaga. Then the person who is on the path of becoming an Anaga. Definitely a Sakadaga. The person who already an Anaga. The person who is on the path of becoming an Anagami. There are some mutations because there may be a Putajjana who is definitely going to be an Arahant directly. And the person who became an Arahant. Now, 8. Can there be Sotapannas in the lay society, among lay people?
Yes.
Why not? If you take the examples of Visakha, remember Visakha?
Yes.
Visakha became a Sotapanna when she was
7 years.
7 years old. And then she married a husband. Interesting. Now we have to revisit these Dhamma talks and everything. So you have to get out of your household and you have to become a monk, and otherwise you won't be able to end this samsara. We have to revisit these things with the real stories actually. Of course, if you have time, you can become a monk or not. But still, see the examples. So, anybody who became a Sotapanna is a part of the Sangha. But for the sake of clarity, we take Sangha to be monastics who wear in the robes. But the deeper meaning is Sangha includes all the Sotapannas. All right. So then you go to Sangha. Because why do you need to go to Sangha? Because Sangha can continue the practice and they can give you the proper teachings to you. Sometimes you won't be able to understand, so they can clarify according to the time and the place. All right. And then this is the same thing. Dutiyampi means secondly, Tatiyampi means secondly. Can anybody find out the nasal over here? Buddhang, here nasal, Buddhang. Sarana, again nasal. Dhamma, here M, nasal. Sanghang, nasal. Sarana, here nasal. Ola, nasal. So nasals have to be properly pronounced. Buddhang, Saranang, Gaccha. Dhammang, Saranang, Gaccha. Sanghang, Saranang, Gaccha. Dutiyampi. There's no nasal, no aspirate. Buddhang, saranang gaccha. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gaccha. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gaccha. Tatiyam dhammang saranang gaccha. Tatiyam sanghang saranang gaccha. All right. I think you can practice that at your home. Always think that Pali is a language that can easily learn, but a lot of people think that it's not that, because Pali has no particular letters, script type, because you write it in your own language, right? Here, Romanized language. So it is easy to the level of your consistent practice. Not that you today come and write down and get ready, but next week you are not going to master. Maybe tonight you're not going to master. Maybe next week you're not going to do it. You have to keep it consistent, right? Every practice goes that way for the pronunciation part. All right. So here, any questions about these five? Sorry, these three types of the Saranagama? Okay, next thing to go is the 10 precepts. So we're going to be doing that next week. Not just the 5 precepts. We will keep that for next week. So we'll take time, probably a few minutes for the questions now. Because after the questions, we're going to be transferring the merits, and then we're going to be wrapping this up exactly at your 7:30 Malaysian time. Any questions for today's introductory class about Pali?
But the word at the end there was Saranatayang. Does it mean end of
Yeah.
Sarana?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, Saranataya ends here.
Thank you.
That means tree refuge, the teaching of the tree refuge passage ends at that point, because it was written on all the manuscripts. So they have to say that that is the end. That's why they mark like that.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
What do you mean here, right? Let's see again that part. Looks like it takes time, this pop-up window. All right. Saranataya. So Saranatayang. Now, when you say Saranatayang, it becomes an accusative, what do you call, sentence. That means the end. When you say Saranatayang with the M, is Nigahita, it says, thus Saranataya ends. The teaching of the 3 refuges ends over here, and then goes to the 10 precepts after that.
Bhante,
Yeah.
Bhante, in the chanting book, right? It only writes Tisarana.
Mhm.
So why now is Saranatayam?
Okay, great. Chanting book was made by senior monks after a long time. Now this is originally from the Tipitaka, Sutta Pitaka. In the Sutta Pitaka, it was given like this, but they have named it Tisarana, right? That is the difference there. Because sometimes when you read Pali Suttas from the chanting book and from the canon, after you go into the canon, you see some differences, modifications. Actually, the modifications happened with the chanting books because they were made. We can't say that they change a lot. Sometimes they may have changed the name of the topic, probably. Other than that, the contents are same.
Yeah, that's
It
why I
is
was
with-
looking. I
Yes,
was looking at it, and it's the same.
yes.
Like
Yeah, it
Buddha.
is called Saranataya in the canon, but not Tisarana. But Tisarana, actually, you call them because Buddha Dhamma Sangha, they are Sarana. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. If Buddha is a Sarana, Dhamma is a Sarana, Sangha is a Sarana, then Tisarana. They made it that way. But originally in the Pali canon, in the Puddaka Pata, Puddaka Nikaya, under Sutta Pitaka, they say Saranataya. Because that is how it was collected in that particular book.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, you should be able to ask anything. If you cannot, maybe you can drop a message under the chat. That is also possible. Questions about today, our introduction of Pali language, or our lesson today, anything that you feel difficult. Okay, let's talk about that part. Anything that you found difficult to understand, anything you found too difficult to, probably comprehend. I'm open to discuss all that.
Bhante, today you are teaching us the pronunciation is important. Of course, it's also kind of a respect.
Mhm.
How about the posture, bowing, all these things? So different. Is it different places? The way they bow will be different also, like language.
You mean the, what do you call, respectful postures in
Yes.
terms of worshipping?
Right.
We don't find that much about, writings about them. But we have one very famous posture like Anjali Kama. You see, there Yadidang Chattari Purisa Puppala is about the Savasa, Vahunayo, Pahunayo, Dakinayo, Anjali Karanayo. So placing your palms together thing at the level of your Anjali. Oh, I mean, that is only good for a Sangha, right? You can do Anjali to somebody else. This position is such eligible or maybe more suitable to the Sangha. I think that we can understand. And also, Rama friend, you may have heard when people go to the Buddha, they never sat down in front of. They never sat down to the left, to the right. They sat down ekamantang on a side for the respect. And there are things like that. If you further look at it, there are things like that. Now, for example, if you bow down to a monk and you don't just go by turning your back to him, huh? I mean, those are common courtesy, right? You are not gonna do that. You just respect and then you just slowly walk away, right? And those normal, but there's no emphasis on that. You should do this and that because every person is different, right? People come from different cultures. I think that they do the best. But if you ask a specific preference, yes, there is one called Anjali Kama. That is a special way of bowing down that is only suitable for the Sangha. That is what I can say. Yeah. Because it's very good you ask this question. Some people don't know how to bow down worship part because different cultures, they do differently. In Sri Lanka, they are worshipping on their knees. Some countries, they put their palms together by standing. So we cannot say which one is better or the other one. Because as the Buddha just changed his language when he goes to another local state, I think we have to understand too. Yeah.
All right.
Bhante,
Yeah.
Bhante,
Mhm.
some even like bow down all the way and then well, so what is that?
Yeah, that's called Danda Namaskar. It's a different, it's not given very explicitly, but you could find in some of the text, you know,
So
in a
they go
line,
all
in a
the way
line,
down and
yes,
then they come.
in a very much lying posture. Yes, they do. But the thing what you need to understand, there's no one particular way that you must do it. It always goes by the temple, the tradition, and the culture. Because let's say you go to a place where people don't do that particular thing, you are going to do that. You might sometimes make an embarrassment to people around. So you
Is
have
that
to,
the Tibetan one? Is that the Tibetan one?
yeah, Tibetan. I probably sometimes Indians also do probably. Could be. So it's good. I mean, it's good
Because
in their own.
sometimes we see them do that, we thought we are wrong, because we see them like go all the way down and then we're not doing that.
So what I'm
So
telling is that whenever you go to a place, always follow the institution place. We don't want to make an embarrassment to anybody, to the monk or to the people around us, that I bow down better than your guys or something. The people think differently, especially those folks who go to a temple. So just follow the place, customs, traditions. If you go to India, Mahabodhi, Buddha Gaya, just go for that lying thing. No problem. Everybody does that. But in your local temple, I think it might be different, and maybe a Mahayana temple, maybe another Theravada temple, Sri Lankan, Burmese, Taiwan. So we have to always follow the kind of the style, Not that I do the best.
Excuse me, Bhante.
Go ahead.
I just wonder, during the first, second, or third council meeting after the Buddha's death, what language do they use? Did they use? And number two, why don't the Sangha community continue to converse among themselves in Pali language just to preserve it?
All right, that is why I said Shakyamuni Buddha must have spoken the language called Magadhi, because he spent a fair amount of time in the state of Magadha. All right. That is one thing, but we have to understand. If you talk about the councils, first, second councils, definitely the councils happen near the Magadha. And I think they must have conversed in Magadhi language. But later on, now we are talking about a history of 2,600 years. Right? You look at that whole time, and the time that the canon was written on text, maybe palm manuscripts. And now, I think, if you look at that chronicle teaching, the book teaching, only Pali was brought to Sri Lanka before it was textualized. That means at the time of Buddhism came to Sri Lanka, it was called Pali. That is why they say Pali only came here, not the commentaries. All right. So I think in the first couple of centuries of the Buddha's passing away, it was mostly Magadhi that they used. But after some time, it was changed to Pali, because Pali was mainly used to the Pali canon, Tipitaka. That was what we need to understand. We don't know exact dates, because we can't say that unless somebody does a very scientific research. But Magadhi was the earliest way, how we call the language. And then Pali was the, the term that we've been using after some time.
But
Even
they
you
were
say after some time, it's long time too.
And again, why don't the Sangha community nowadays communicate among themselves in Pali just to preserve the language?
All right, that's a good question. Now, you know that Sangha was split into 18 schools. Theravada split into 12 schools, Mahayana split into 6 schools. Actually, at the time of the Buddha, when the Buddha passed away, there were monks who didn't like him. He said he passed away, now we can change everything. But then they did the first council. After 100 years, things were very heated at that point, aggravated. Then that's the time Theravada was broken into 12 parts and Mahayana was broken into 6 parts. Now somebody might wonder why Theravada was broken into, split into 12 parts, why Mahayana only 6 parts. They all were carrying something like this. I carry what I know from the Buddha. You carry what you know from the Buddha. So Theravada part was more likely to preserve what they knew. They didn't want to change anything. Even though the Buddha said change the minor rules, but they didn't want to. They have a lot of arguments about it. And Mahayana then was preserved in Sanskrit, then in Chinese and all that. So Theravada monks always believed in that past that Magadhi, I would say Magadhi on our Pali is the safest language for the Buddha's canon. That is why I try to say to you, if you learn Pali, you will learn the true teachings of the Buddhism, not from the translations. Now, a lot of people, they read from translations. Buddha is like this, Buddha is like that, and Buddha said this. Now, how many fake quotes of the Buddha on the internet? If you look, you might not know that they are fake or not, because you don't know. Where is it? If you look at Bible, they say St. Matthew, St. Luke. Yes, you can go and check it. And there are people who add things like Buddha said something like this. Just the Buddha. Where is it? Where did you quote it from? There's no mention. So that's why I'm saying that as the earlier monks thought that Pali is the safest language to preserve because it has no artificial, superficial stuff unless there are repetitions. That's why they stuck to the Pali or that Magadhi language to preserve. Actually, if the Pali was gone, we don't even have a chance to look at it. So that's a benefit that we have. So try to learn Pali a little bit, at least to this level that we do here. So you will have a better competence to understand the Dhamma. Not from just a translation. Translations are helpful too, but if you look at the text, you have an understanding, it is easy for you to understand.
Bhante,
Okay, Bhante.
Kim,
what do you
Kim,
mean by
can we give a chance to other people too? Yeah, just take a minute.
Bhante,
I'm gonna come back to you.
Bhante,
Yeah.
what is the simple way to learn Pali grammar? And this next session, do you introduce some grammar?
Okay, you asked me a simple way. Simple way is that not to get into a lot of grammar. That is the simple way. But when you want to learn Pali, there is now my emphasis that I mentioned in the class, even at the beginning or before you come over here, is that we try to get familiar with the pronunciation. Number one. Number two is that we try to understand the context of the Dhamma by learning more of the Pali language, especially to the context of those Dhamma, right? That is the purpose. Other than that, I'm not going to teach Pali grammar because that's going to be a very different area that we have to go. But only some minor grammar rules will be introduced, very minor ones. So the simple way is that participate in our session and at the same time, do not always think this is a difficult task. And the third thing is consistent practice of pronunciation. And whenever you read a sutta or chanting or maybe a chanting of a monk, write down this word. What is this word? How do I understand it? That kind of an approach. Because finally, I think a lot of people struggle. I don't have a lot of words that I don't have a good vocabulary, like some people face in English language too. So whenever you hear, even when you chant, if you think that you don't know that particular Pali word, take down those words, write down on a piece of paper or a kind of a notebook. Then next time, try to understand that particular word. That is also a very good way to learn Pali quickly. Like
Thank
what
you.
we
Thank you,
learned
Bhante.
today. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kim, please go ahead.
Sorry,
Bhante,
I was a bit confused when you say what canon. What is that? Typical.
Okay, canon is another English word for the Tipitaka, Pali
Oh,
Tipitaka.
okay.
Nothing to be worried about. Just take it easy. Yeah, Jesseline?
When you say kachami, why we have to pronounce long kachami?
Let me show you. Why do we have to make it long? Okay, now a lot of people they make mistake here that ch part. Now you overcome that already. Then why gachami? Because this is not just a, this is long a gacha. Okay, this is gacham because in Pali we have two types of a. Normal a and simple a like this, Buddha, and then long a gacha. Why do we have to lengthen it? Because you see there is a bar, there's a bar over a. Every time you see that bar, you have to lengthen it. One more example. Let's go back. Probably we can go to the next one. We will see under the precepts to do the same.
Yeah. Even the panatipata you have to
That's what I'm trying to show you now. Yeah, even panatipata. Like for example, over here, you could say panatipata. No, you can't do that. Pa, na, pa, ta, panatipata. Not panatipata. Pana. Now the other thing I want to tell you is that if you want to learn Pali within a very short amount of time, not to make this mistake. The mistake is that do not try to pronounce the Pali word very fast. Always take time, try to pronounce each letter. Panatipata. Panatipata. It's really easy to understand. You pronounce the word properly at that. Buddha Saranang Gaccha. Buddhang Saranang Gaccha. Then you get the competence in reading properly. Don't try to go fast. Right?
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Even if you go fast, you won't see the nature around your car. You drive on a highway, you take time to drive, and you see a lot of things. Nature. In the same way, when you slow down in reading, you will properly pronounce, you will understand everything over there too. Oh, all right, we'll take maybe a question or two, and then we will wrap this up. Almost come to the conclusion. If you have. All right, it seems there are no questions. So before I wrap this up, I want to give you some probably couple announcements. We going to be doing this Pali reading class every Thursday at the same time, unless I will let you know in the WhatsApp group that there's an emergency. All right. And I will add anything or upload anything that we will be doing every week onto the Google Classroom. Now you know that we are doing the Sutta Central link, so I don't need to add it because you have it. We go one by one. Go to the next, go to the next, go to the next. So you have it with you. But please get familiarized with the Pali Alphabet document. I'm going to upload it again. And then the significance of Pali language thing. And the Pali reader, it's just a simple thing, but maybe you can postpone reading that Pali reader part. And our recordings, we are not going to make it public at this moment, but we do know that there were people who approached me that they are working at this time. So what we're going to do is that we're going to upload this to YouTube in private and then share the link. But maybe after some time, we're going to make it public. But otherwise, it is not going to work. So we're going to be sending you the link for the private YouTube version of this thing. Other than that, there is nothing very much significant. And I hope that you learn just got the sense of today's class, and then continuing. You might probably have a thought, this is the way that how we're going to continue this reading class. This is not a Pali grammar class, once again, because we want to get familiar with the pronunciation and then the basic translation with some deeper meanings. All right, so let's get into the transference of merits part. We're going to transfer all the good karmas to the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us, and with the devas, nagas, and yes. May all the good karmas that we've been accumulating so far be transferred to all the departed people passed away in the name of all of us. If the departed people were reborn in a place of pain, discomfort, karma dugatis, may they be able to be reborn in a better place. If the departed people are already in a place of comfort, happiness, may they be able to learn, practice, and apply the Dhamma. And then finally, attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu.
Let's recite the stanzas. Idam me jnati nang hotu sukhita huntu jatayo. Idam me jnati nang hotu sukhita huntu jatayo. Idam me jnati nang hotu sukhita huntu jatayo. May all the good karmas be shared by all the devas, nagas, and mahikas. Now, devas means deities, nagas means snake kings, and mahikas means all those non-human, powerful non-human beings. May they be well and happy. May they protect and bless all of us, all of you, your family members, for good health, quality of life, prosperity, and safety. May they bless for your Dhamma practice. May they bless for your learning Pali, chanting, and Dhamma. May they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, finally. Sadhu, sadhu. We have two sets of stanzas. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha cha Bhummanta Devanaga Mahitmika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkhantulu Sasanam Akasattha cha Bhummanta Devanaga Mahitmika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkhantulu Sasanam Akasattha cha Bhummanta Devanaga Mahitmika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkhantu Mam Paranti Chirang Rakkhantu Pam Sadanti. Also, may we be in the company of the Kalyanamitas, noble friends. We all are Kalyanamitas. I'm teaching you the Dhamma and help you pronounce properly, Pali language and all that. So all these things are happening because you join with the Kalyanamitas, assistance, Kalyanamitas company, like-minded people's company. So let's wish maybe be in the company of the Kalyanamitas and not with the Papamitas till we attain Nibbana. Thinking thus, we're going to recite this text. Imina punya kamina mami bala samagam satang samagamu yavani bala patya. Finally, may all the good karmas which you've been accumulating to this moment of time be supportive and helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana silissa nichang vadha pachayini chattaru dhamma vadhanti ayuvan sukha balam Ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminchati. Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, everyone, and I hope that you will continue studying, and we'll see you then next week at the same time. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please send me a message on WhatsApp or maybe email too. You can always ask any questions anytime.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu,
Thank you very
sadhu.
much. Have a good night.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank
you
you,
too,
Bhante.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Thank you,
Sadhu.
Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you next
Thank you.
week.
Yeah,
See you next
sadhu,
week.
sadhu, sadhu. Take care.
Bye bye, everyone.
So,
Bye. Thank you.
see you.
Yeah, see
Bye.
you, Kim.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, have a good night. Okay, take care.